Hello, everyone. Welcome to Loud and Proud Orlando. It's Monday, June 30th, 6:36 p.m. Thank you so much for your support. We're about 25 people live right now on all of our on X and on YouTube. So thank you for your kindness. Make sure if you're on X to drop off your retweet on the video. If you're on YouTube, make sure you drop us your comments and your insights. We'll reach you all today. We're coming from an L against Cincinnati. We're going to be discussing all of that and more today at the pod. We're also going to be talking about the U.S. men's national team advancing to the Gold Cup semis and also OCB. And we're going to be talking about the Charlotte game coming up this weekend. With me is John and Paola. My name is Luis Carlos Pineda, if everybody don't know yet. But Paola, how are you?
I'm doing good. How about you guys? Ready to talk OCV and OCV, OCSC, and USA?
What's up, John?
Good, man. Yeah, just disappointed from Saturday, of course. We'll get into that. But apart from that, things are good. No complaints.
Definitely. Orlando City suffered a 2-1 defeat against FC Cincinnati at Interco Stadium. Obviously, Orlando City's second consecutive home defeat, which is it's been very very rare. Especially the home form of Orlando City has been superb this year. Both teams entered with really good form. Orlando City, ranked fifth in the Eastern Conference, they still remain fifth because there hasn't been really any movement from Inter Miami because of the Club World Cup, which is a good thing actually. Otherwise, we would have dropped a little bit. FC Cincinnati second, and it was, as we mentioned on the preview, a massive game for Orlando to position themselves and just kind of cruise control in this second beginning of the season. Despite Orlando City's tremendous efforts and also chances that were wasted to possibly equalize, especially that last one from Brecalo late in the game. FC Cincinnati was better when it came to being clinical, and they really, my hats off to Pat Noonan because tactically I think they were spot on. I think the substitutions they made him secure the victory. Now we can sit down and 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 talk about Bracolo and how he missed, of course, and we'll discuss all of that and more. But that was my first initial insights. I was expecting how obviously a win. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. Orlando still looked good, in certain parts of the game, but there were other parts that Cincinnati was just superior. John, what are your first insights of this game?
Yeah, I mean, the first sort of 30 minutes, we looked really good. But I was concerned that we weren't being clinical. We weren't finishing our chances. We were creating chances and getting on the front foot. And whenever we do that at home, I always have this horrible feeling like, oh no, we just not gonna be able to like score. And then the game state will change at some point. And that's kind of what happened. I think also since he just got in our head, man. I think between the ref, Miazga, and everything else they were doing, which we know all as well. We know how to dark arts, and we were
We
dark
mentioned
arts
it. We mentioned it on the
ourselves.
preview.
Yeah, for sure. And I just think that on top of Pedro's mistake, it's just one of those days where it wasn't our night, right? It's going to come down to a fine margin game like this, and it's going to be about those star players. It's going to be Evander versus Ojeda, and Evander came out on top, right? It's going to be Celentano versus Galese, and Celentano came out on top, right? And in these key matchups, not only like looking at the same player oppositionally, but then key matchups on the field positionally in terms of like your left wingers versus your right backs, etc. Your central midfield. I feel like we lost that battle a fair few. So for me, I think we didn't really get going until it was too late, and then it was really just about chasing the game at that point. And we were in some ways the better team, but we weren't clinical. We created a lot of chances, but we weren't clinical. And since you were, and we let them get away with a 2-1 win in our house, which we shouldn't have really done.
Marco Pasalic scored his 10th goal of the season across all competitions for Orlando City. With this goal, Pasalic became the 8th player in Orlando City MLS era to reach double-digit goals in their debut season with the club. Martin Ojeda with his 8 assists, 31st across all competitions for Orlando City. And Ramiro Enrique recorded his 2nd assist of the season across all competitions. Paola, what were your thoughts of this game, real quick?
I mean, you guys said it. And especially you, Luis, when we said like we didn't play horrible, but in the moments of chances that we created, we didn't, have a goal. And at the end, that second goal from Cincy, that was too many errors in the possession of the ball. We lost the possession. Jansen is slowly running back. Like in each game, I have seen him slow down. And I mean, with this type of team, is whoever do less errors and they won, right? Because they committed less errors than us. So we need to know how to play this type of team in the future because this is playoff games right here. So I mean, we didn't play horrible, but we have seen better plays from the boys. But we need to have goals in those key moments that we created and we didn't.
Salty H2O says Evander had a hell of a game. Hard to hate on it. Hopefully we do better next time. Look, I agree with Salty, but I do want to add on what John and Paola said just now. If Orlando wants to win a championship, they need to go past the hurdle of these teams. I mean, we could sit down here and tell you, you know, we we could have won, but in the end, it's in past tense. We could have, right? So we need to go past that hurdle. And what's the difference between Ojeda and Evander? Evander, he became influential in the moments that he needed to be influential for Cincinnati. MVP candidate for sure. They might have not had a lot of chances as Orlando has throughout the game, but he made those count. When it comes with Ojeda, and it is not just Ojeda. I think a lot of the players, except maybe Pasalic, it was just a lot of, again, it became this possession style on the attacking third of like not really going for the shot, passing it back, and I think that's the big difference. Denke was going forward, Evander was going forward. Certainly we are not a team that, we certainly look like a team that's going to definitely make the playoffs and possibly contend for the championship for sure. But if we truly, this was a great opportunity for us to go past this hurdle, compete with the top three in the East, toe to toe, mano a mano. And so this is the first, this is I will say a fail by Orlando in this particular game. We have another test now, and it's going to be away, which is going to be Charlotte, which is another team that's definitely going to be out there. So let's just kind of refocus real quick before we go into Charlotte, because Charlotte's a little bit later than that. So John, the early chances, FC Cincinnati, they came with a possession style as well, low block, controlling the pace of play. And then Orlando started being super aggressive, like you said, the first 30 minutes. I mean, how many chances we wasted? I mean, we could have been up like 2 or 3 goals up in the first half. You know, and this is becoming very recurring with the lack of the finishing touch, especially during the open 45 minutes. What are your thoughts regarding that?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it's either on or off days for us. There's days where we take our chances and we're clinical and we look really good, and then there's days where we do like we did against Cincy and we create a lot, but we're just lacking that ability on the final touch or the calmness to put it in the net. And I think the beginning of this game just kind of screamed that to me. And we had 17 shots total, and only 3 of them on target all game. I think that's just really where it lies. And there's games, like I said, where we'd had 17 total shots, and 10 or plus of them are going on target, and we're winning this game like 3-1. And it just seems like at the moment it's kind of like cyclical. Different guys in the squad are on form and not, and Ojeda's not really getting the opportunities at the moment and not scoring as much as he was earlier in the season. And Peslic is scoring more now, and Muriel isn't scoring as much as he was at the beginning of the season. But I think it's just about getting all of them going at the same time together. Enrique's starting to look in form. Pasalic is scoring again. If we can get Ojeda going, and we can figure out what's going on with our left wing situation, we can definitely start scoring 3 goals a game. And then the same on the other side, like defensively. I don't know if we're going to get to this, but that I feel like it was a major error by Pedro, just positionally on that goal. And as much as you want to say, okay, yes, it was a very good free kick by Evander, I think Pedro
No.
has to be better positioned,
Yeah.
because you can't assume that one guy is definitely going to take it, and that's kind of what he did. And that did not help the situation. And other games, Pedro would have played really well and maybe got a clean sheet against Cincy. So sometimes we just need these things to work out, both attacking and defensively. And in this game, we weren't scoring, and then we were making silly errors at the back, and that's how you lose 2-1.
Paul, as John was mentioning about Pedro Galese, I agree with him 100% when it comes to is an error to the extent of Evander, and I believe it was another Cincy player. They talked about, like they've practiced this, so they already have seen film of Pedro, and they knew that that's the way they were going to execute a free kick. What are your thoughts regarding that? The
That's what
first goal.
happens when they do homework on us. I mean, if they know
Yeah.
how Pedro plays, they're going to his weakness, and boom, that's what happened. And I I don't know who mentioned it, but I was seeing it on Facebook that apparently Cesar, the coach for the goalkeepers, it was saying that he needed to move and he didn't move, or probably he didn't hear. Like they're super far away. Sometimes they don't hear, and it was a ugly mistake by Pedro. And I think he realized it once he caught the ball, but inside the net, right? It was a little bit too it was a little bit too late for it,
Yeah,
right?
a little
Like,
bit too late.
but I mean, that happens when they do homework on you. They study you and they go to your weaknesses, and that's what you get. And Pedro did some big saves, even though that
Yeah,
he had an ugly mistake, and then the second goal, it wasn't 100% on him. But I mean, this is what you get when they do homework on you, unfortunately.
for sure. Obviously, Orlando City responded with an unsung hero in this game, which was Marco Pasalic, which he's come from international duty. I believe a little bit of a changed
Hmm.
man. And I kind of felt a little bit for him because he looked very frustrated in the post press conference. Number one, he looked like he didn't want to be there. And number two, like his expressions were like of like pure frustrations. Exactly, like but he did carry the team. I feel in this, at least offensively. Um, Cincinnati struggled tremendously on marking him. He scored his 10th goal of the season across all competitions, as already mentioned. It was him and Evander. I think Evander was very influential for Cincy, but in this case, I think Pasalic. What are your thoughts on Pasalic's performance, John?
Yeah, I mean, he stepped up in this game. I feel like he could have got another one sooner. Again, maybe his finishing was a little bit off in the first half, but I definitely felt that determination from him. And when he got the goal, we were pushing, try and tie it up to get the second one. So I feel like he is that DP that we need him to be. But I also think Ojeda played pretty well in this game. Just didn't wasn't able to get on the scoring sheet. Same really with a lot of our team. I feel like we just the build-up play was there. We just lacked the finishing touch. And, Brecalo, you got to feel for him on that one. Like, you know, he's not really a guy who necessarily gets that far forward. And so when it's that kind of guy and it's that error, you're just like, how did you miss it? But you're also just like, okay, well, you're not used to that kind of situation on a regular basis. So you give him a little bit more grace. But it's just that kind of thing where it's like another night, he hits that sweetly and we tie it up and it's 2-2. It was just one of those games where even when it was on a plate like that, we weren't able to take it.
Now, I'm going to talk about the one of the elephants in the room. I know a lot of fans been discussing this on social media, and they wanted us to kind of develop a little bit more insight on what's going on. But Ivan Angulo, seems like we're talking to him in every episode. 6.1 score on FOTMob. I think it's a little bit lower on SofaScore even. Only played 45 minutes. Really, he had 2 chances created, 84% passing accuracy, only 2 touches in the opposition's box, 0 accurate crosses, 0 successful dribbles, uh, 0 tackles won. Maybe was dribbled past 2 times. He lost 3 duels, 1v1 on that right wing, putting a little bit more pressure on David Brecalo, that actually got a yellow. Um, what are your thoughts on his performance? To me, I feel also. I mean, I know that we're frustrated. I think as everybody loves Orlando, everybody wants Orlando to do great. But I mean, this is recurring now, and I think Oscar subbing him out, it made a huge difference because Orlando really wasn't generating as much when he was in. I don't know if you felt that way, John.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say, right? Because I feel like Luis Muriel at left wing is not the answer. So it's like, okay, you took Angulo out, and then people are like, oh, why you took Angulo out and Muriel's slow? It's like, yeah, well, Muriel's not a left winger, so I don't know why we're doing that. If you're gonna do that, put Muriel up front and move Enrique to left wing, and I
Yeah,
don't understand why Oscar doesn't do that. I'm not sure. Maybe there's like a hold up kind of thing that he likes from Enrique, from Muriel from the left wing that he likes doing, but it did not work at all, really, in my opinion,
not at all.
of Cincy. So that was disappointing. But I don't think the answer is don't take Angulo off. I think you should. Honestly, I think it's refreshing that the last 2 games Oscar has taken him off at halftime, and I feel like it's speaking to something that we were all talking about, that like the production is just not there. I mean, we were talking about last pod, and I said he had 1 goal. I was wrong. He has 1 assist on the whole season. I mean, and that's all competitions. I think he had another assist actually against the Rowdies. And that's
I
like,
don't know if we count that. Do we count
I
that?
mean, that's what I'm saying. In MLS, he has 1 assist in 20 games. He's played
Yeah,
1,460 minutes this season.
yeah,
He has 1 assist. Like, I'm not. Other years, that would be like 5 or 6 assists, maybe a couple goals by
yeah.
this point in the year, and it's just not there. And I don't know, man. I feel like Oscar's sending him a message with pulling him off at halftime in these games, and I would not be shocked if he doesn't start against Charlotte. I don't know if everyone's going to cheer. I think that's a little harsh. I don't want to completely bag on the guy because he
Yeah,
has
me
been a
neither.
great servant. Like, I can't remember who it was, but shout out to you on the last pod. Someone posted on the comments, which you can always do, by the way, if you're listening and watching on YouTube. Just go and leave us a comment. We'll read it out. We'll look at it and talk about it like this. But they left us a comment on the last episode talking about how he's been a good soldier. Like, Ivan Angulo has
Yeah, for
always been a
sure.
good guy for the club, and that's 100% true. We're not.
110%.
I
Yeah.
don't want to degrade the guy to the point of he has done nothing good for us, because that's not true. But in football or in soccer, it's all about what have you done for me lately.
Mm-hmm.
And sadly, Ivan has done nothing lately. And I just, like you said a million times, Luis, if Yataro is available, or I think we're going to see more of Nico for sure. He's going to get more minutes there. I
I
think
mean,
Oscar is already working to a plan. Maybe we'll even do a transfer. Who knows?
I don't know.
I think we're
Hopefully,
working to a plan to not start Ivan. Like that's what it seems like from his performances and the way that Oscar's been pulling him off.
personally, I mean, I know he's been in IKEA a lot lately. He's been, back in Colombia as well, buying some furniture in IKEA. He's been also, back home for a death in the family, which I totally understand. But you can definitely tell he's green, and I'm talking about Nico Rodriguez. I mean, the kid came in, and yeah, he had a lot of heart.
He's
The
like
kid,
Agimang Raw, bro.
yeah, it's like this, like like a bumper car. He's just bumping and falling, and I mean, and for people that watch the sport a lot, which I'm sure they saw him going in and be like, "Yo, this kid is terrible. Why we sign him?" Don't be so harsh. I mean, Angulo was like that when he first came in. Ojeda, a lot of people were ready to get moved past Ojeda at some point. I just think you got out for MLS. You've seen the conditions of MLS pitches and other stadiums because of the Club World Cup. You got to kind of battle it really hard, and you got to play in really harsh conditions that maybe in South America and other parts, like, you're not really used to. So it takes a little while. Now, not only that, he just really technically he's been on an extended vacation because of personal situation. So you know it is what it is. But I think I take what John said with I think Oscar's also fed up. I think he already had a conversation with him. I do feel like he's like, hey man, you know I love you, bro. You're great. You're a phenomenal player, a great locker room guy. But just like Rafa, like, if you're not producing, we want to win a championship. Like, you got to produce. And I think in the end, it is like that. Paula, what are your thoughts on the Angulo situation? What are your thoughts?
I'm surprised that he hasn't been benched, but at the same time, I understand that um, probably like John said, I don't understand why Enrique is not starting in the left wing because I would love to see Enrique in that position, and we have talked about it in other pods. So, like John said, I think Oscar is sending him a message like, "Hey, get your together and see what's going on." Sub him out at halftime. But if you're not producing in the game, I'd rather have another player in the lineup and see if it's a wake up call. I don't know if he needs a wake up call. I don't know if he mentally is good, right? Because players go through mentally challenged things, and but some probably he needs a mental wake up call. So hopefully we can figure it out because we cannot be like this in the playoff. So
Let's
hopefully
do
Oscar gets an answer.
let's do some comments here. Jeffrey O, what is going on to take to bench? What is it going to take to bench Angulo? Enrique and Ojeda had to go through a lot to get the start. We need a winger stat, says Jeffrey O. I agree with you, my friend. Thank you so much for your comment. Carlos Mejia has a really good comment here, which I agree with. As angry as frustrated as I was with the results, I actually thought the performance was promising. Which, look, Orlando City a year ago when we lost the first half of the season against FC Cincinnati, now it would have not ended out 2-1. It would have probably ended like 3-1, 4-1 in Orlando. And we would have been like, the Papial movement would have come out, with so I think I agree with Carlos on that sense. But again, we need to analyze it game by game. Jeffrey O, Angulo could be our Arias from Flu, but he's just not in form. I think Arias can hit you from far from distance. He had a shot that hit the post today. I think Arias is in a different league. Not only that, he's bigger, stronger, has more muscle mass. He's like a train. Angulo, he's like Nico Rodriguez and Vinny mixed in the blender. Um, Onel Barrett, you definitely don't lose to the team you're chasing for second place, especially at home. Yeah, but I mean, I agree with that. But I don't know. I mean, I felt the team looked better than other years against Cincinnati. Yes, I think the loss is always unacceptable. But yeah, I agree on that, Onel. Guilla Carlos, 2 games, 2 horrible misses, and Gulam Brecalo, but the rest of the time they have been okay. Yeah, Angulo and Brecalo. And Brecalo with the last one was a heartbreak right there. I mean, he looks so frustrated. I mean, it could have been a tie, and then we would have not been talking about this loss today. But it is what it is. He's not a striker for a reason, guys. John, yeah, you're showing a picture of the stats.
Yeah, just what we're talking about. Like, I know obviously we did not put the ball in the back of the net, but we did a lot of the other things right in this game. Like you show, we possession wise, total shots. Like, we're beating them in most of the stats, like XG. I know some people don't care about XG, and other people do. But if you care about that kind of thing, we were by far and away more likely to win
Yeah,
this game in terms of chances, especially that we had. I like that a lot of these sites now they have what they call big chances, or like these are like high quality chances that you should really score. Probably that one with Brecalo is probably one of these. We had three of those and we missed all three, right? Like on another day, we probably get one or two of those. So I think we did play well in some ways, but it comes down to these fine margins, man. It really does, and we got them wrong.
yeah, it's all about winning. I mean, look, even if you play, I mean, there've been games that we've played kind of ugly, and you still you got to be clinical to get the result. And I think in this game we played like we played tiki taka. We did a bunch of plays, a lot of flair, a lot of lights, but
Yeah,
there was really no
I
nothing
think
right behind it.
also the ref didn't help with all of his
Yeah, I
just like
know.
I've never seen a guy so casual about how long it takes to take a free kick or a goal kick, or like it was the end of the first half and they were just standing there waiting to retake from Evander's goal, and the ball was just just waiting on their side of the field. None of the Cincy players were trying to get it. The ref was just he literally shrugged. He was just like, huh, whatever. Then they finally get the ball back to the center, and then they go to kick off again, and he blows for halftime. There's stuff like that. They're just like they did that all game. I also think that they got in our heads. We talked about that before. So I think mentally
Yeah,
we lost this one between the ref and them. We didn't keep our cool. There was a lack of leadership, I think, and I think that some of our key guys were too concerned about what Cincy were doing and not concerned enough about what they should be doing. And that is kind of a common thread sometimes. Like you can get under our skin and dark arts us just like we do that to other people. And Cincy did that really well. I also think there was a handball shout, which enraged them a lot. If you go back and watch it,
yeah, there
it
was.
right before in that free kick that before everything first erupts. When the ref first lost control of the game. There, if you go back and watch, it looks like a handball. So I don't know why we didn't get VAR on that one. All of these things are not excuses, but there's stuff that happens every week in MLS. So you gotta deal with it. You gotta beat the ref. You gotta beat the other team. You gotta deal with their nonsense and their dark arts, just like they have to deal with ours. And we didn't do that, and we kind of mentally lost this one, in my opinion.
Yeah, so the ref gave a yellow card because of dissent. Now I do want to say you don't let and again, of course, the way some of the players reacted, I think it's because they probably weren't provoked this much before. But I mean, this is the reason why you kind of, in a way, observe tape and you look at these moments. And Matt Miazga, man, I'm gonna say it. He's a dick, man. He's a schlong. You know, he's a wee wee tron. All right. I mean, this dude, like, straight up got into Pasalic head to a point of Pasalic wanted to, like, straight up headbutt him, like Materazzi in the World Cup to Zidane. like and he had to like really be controlled because he's a Croatian guy, man. I mean, this is ready to go, ready to put him on a chokehold, and that would have definitely ruined the game for. It would have been a different story. I think Evander would have scored a hat trick or something. I mean, and we just gotta understand that these are the type of rivalries that we're gonna be facing. And Miazga was the one who was just kind of letting all his boys like, yeah, 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 no, no, getting into the ref's face, and the ref had no personality whatsoever to control that. I felt, just because a player tells you, hey, do your job a little better, or has some words to say afterwards, he's not cussing you out. I mean, and not only that, players came to him to say, "Hey, you're not doing anything about Miazga. Like Miazga is doing all this stuff, and you're not saying absolutely nothing." And I think that is something that pro referees needs to get better at. I don't know. What are your thoughts on the refereeing, Paula?
I mean, like John said, it sucked. I thought that the goalkeeper from Cincy was gonna get a yellow card because of when we score a goal, we were going to the ball and he was like, "Oh, throw it through the other way." He didn't get a yellow. If it was Pedro Galese, he would have gone a yellow for doing that. So I mean, it's a pro ref. What can you expect? But like John said, it's no excuse, right? We're not making excuses of why we didn't win. We didn't win because we didn't perform well, but is that cherry on top that is always the ref. And like Luis has mentioned before, we're going to host a FIFA World Cup next year, and this is the type of refereeing that we're offering. So it's not fair for the league, but it is what it is. They're not going to do anything, so we can keep ranting about pro referees all night, but
Yeah,
there's no excuse.
look, and I'm gonna add to what Paula said. These dudes are being rewarded to referee in Club World Cup and World Cups. Like I saw today in the Fluminense versus Inter Milan, which I do want to say, Parabéns flew. Congratulations, tremendous drive by those guys, man. Fluminense and Palmeiras, the only two South American teams left in the tournament. Kudos for all the torcedores from Fluminense and Palmeiras for sure. But Fluminense today, they eliminated the second best team in Europe, Inter Milan, literally. So the ref was this dude. I don't know his name, but he's really well known. He's a really big pro ref that screwed over Orlando so bad before that like I went on like if it was me, but I'm like surprised. Like, how can this guy be refereeing Club World Cup? Like this is insane. But either way, I guess we don't have any more referees, John. I guess we got out. Maybe me, you and me should be refs.
Well, they're all on OBT, bro. That's why they're busy.
Ah, that's right. There you go. Let's read some comments real quick. Manel Barrett says too many passes by the back line. Seems that they were afraid to attack. I could agree with you for sure on that, and a lot of passing it back. Evander was
Yeah.
Evander was very direct. I feel like nobody wanted to take that last freaking shot, and it annoyed me because I saw Cincinnati, the few chances they got, they were taking the shot. Even Danke, like they were throwing it out there. Watching PSG cook Miami made me happy. On another note, yeah, we'll talk about it in just a second. Thank you so much for your support. Are we ready? You want to say anything else before we go to the next subject, John?
Just that I feel like part of the reason we lost this game is I think both Cesar and Atuesta kind of they lost their jewels in the midfield. Like their passing was good, and like he said, we had lots of passing,
Yeah.
but they were not winning the tackles in the midfield. Like it was mainly that, and what is extra frustrating is Cincy were out in the Wobodo, so it was Yunga, who was like not even their main guy, but him and Pavel Buka were winning so much of that midfield ball and winning the ball high up. And I just feel like we could have done better there to control the game. And I feel like we just wasn't. And there was a lot of that sort of passing for passing's sake. I agree with that for sure. I think we could have been a bit more direct, a bit more clinical, especially on the counterattack. There was like one counterattack, but Ojeda had it, and we just like stopped. They all got back in formation and stuff like that. You know, Cincy is a good defensive team. When we had those opportunities, we have to get down the other end quickly before they get a chance to reset and there's gaps in their defense.
With what John said, Paula, do you feel like Orlando City could have won with Gervais?
I was gonna say if
I
I
think we
say
needed
that
somebody
I
like that.
missed your bay, that makes me
No,
crazy. I
I
was
don't think
gonna
you're
say
crazy
that.
for saying that.
no, because Gervais is a 4x4 Jeep, man. That kid, he has the huevos that he's very consistent. He has
Because
big big
Atuesta
big
is
balls of
good,
fire.
but I don't know. It's something that I don't. It doesn't convince me 100% about Atuesta. And don't get me wrong, he's a good player. He has done phenomenal things in the short periods of time for Orlando. But I think in the system that right now is working for Oscar Pareja, Gervais is performing way better than Atuesta. And you can call me crazy, but I'm missing him. So
I just think that when you are playing against competition that has the tools to, like, what Cincinnati just did to Orlando, punish you in like in a counter, or like a team that's very fairly square against yours. You need to not play so open into the attack. But if you're gonna do that, Atuesta needs to be prepared to do that double duty of defending also, because otherwise he's putting all the pressure on Cesar, and then Cesar also has to make sure that the back line is on point, and he's able to also do his job as a defensive midfielder. So the thing that Gervais gives you is he feels very comfortable or doing that double duty. So he has a good foot, and maybe he's not as clinical as a Tuesta going on the offense, but he's really good on the recuperating the ball, taking the ball away from defenders, setting up maybe a transition play through the wings. Better than maybe a Tuesta right now. Um, and again, that kind of frees up Cesar also to focus on his role on the field, rather than doing two jobs at once, because when Atuesta goes forward, leaves a gap, and I felt like Cincinnati was able to exploit that throughout the game, and eventually they controlled the midfield, and that's why they got the second one, especially players like Evander, so we'll see. Gervais is getting, I think, ready to return, so hopefully we may see him. Hopefully, I don't know if it's starting, but we're definitely gonna see him having some minutes. Anything else you want to add regarding the game against Cincy, John?
No, I think we talked about everything. Just overall kind of disappointing Saturday night. I do think, like you said, that we need to beat big teams in these games, and I think that's really our next. Like, we need to push to become that next level of team that can see out a win that's as significant and as big as this, and go ahead and beat the upper teams in the East at home and get those points. And I think that's the main thing. Is just disappointing for everybody that we didn't take that opportunity. And hopefully we learn from this, and later in the season where we have another big game against the top Eastern side that's a potential 6-pointer, we come out on top.
Yeah. To end that, I do want to say, with all the whole this Club World Cup situation, and I saw an article about how Inter Miami being dropped off being eliminated of the Club World Cup, it makes the MLS look terrible. Yeah, of course, because they should have never gone to the Club World Cup, you know. And I do, and a lot of South American, pundits that don't watch the league say But how can you say that Messi's there? It's like, yeah, but Messi commercially has maybe helped the league make more money, but also he make himself a lot of hella more money. And also, but when it comes to the sport itself, he's really not the catalyst of this soccer revolution in the United States. I mean, you're talking about in Minnesota, they're putting 20,000 people the same time as the Club World Cup's going on. So it's growing. I mean, that is proof, tangible proof. But clearly Messi doesn't translate that. So I don't think it's a failure, in my opinion. I think for the teams that went, if you look at the teams and where they stand in the MLS right now, these are teams that are not the Cincinnati's, not the Philadelphia's, not the Columbus, not the Vancouvers. And I feel like if you would have maybe taken those, it would have stacked a little bit more on an equal level with a Copa Libertadores squad, or with a maybe Ulsan Hyundai or Mamelodi, at that point, not, or like with Esperance of Tunisia, you know what I mean? So, but if you're taking this seventh place, ninth place, 10th place, that's what you're gonna get. You're gonna get all names, but no bite. And I think that's what you imagine if Philly would have gone to the Club World Cup. I mean, this is a team that doesn't give up. Same with Cincy. I mean, it showed against Orlando or even Orlando City. I feel like that we would have done a little bit better on that point. But I'm getting sidetracked here. But we're gonna be talking about U.S. men's national team. That's next. Man, to be honest with you, I'll be honest with you. I'm proud with this team, with the national team. I think number one, Alex Freeman. My hats off. We got a lot of slack because I said that he retired Keylor Navas. Um, Come on, man. Come on. Just laugh a little bit. Um, Technically, he kind of did, because this is one of the few last tournaments he's going to be playing with Costa Rica. I think this is his last World Cup that he's going to be playing in 2026. So, come on, man. Either way, Alex Freeman's been doing tremendous. He's been a starter in every single game. Pochettino talks very highly of him. He's making a lot of rounds. He played, in my opinion, a good game against Costa Rica. Very good game. Score a penalty against a top level goalkeeper. Probably somebody that, to me, I mean, no disrespect with Pedro, but I think Keylor now is on a different level. I mean, when it comes to country and when it comes to also playing Real Madrid at some point, PSG. So, really good goalkeeper, and Alex Freeman just with such poise, man. You if you want to play, you could play it, John. I mean, with just the way he the way he just
I don't know what
executed.
happened there. Hold on.
It's okay. The way he executed the penalty was just class. It's like 110%. Just no fear. Right there, right there.
Here we go. Yeah.
Yeah.
Great penalty, man.
Tremendous. What a moment for Alex Freeman. Now, in the beginning of the season, I think he was on our predictions as the, players to watch, and at least, I don't know if it's for me or for you, John, or you, Paula, but he was definitely in the radar of a player that was going to get far, but we did not know the extent of how far he was going to get. I mean, I'm proud of the kid, but I'm proud of this entire team. I mean, not a lot of players of unless Malik Tillman and Richardson. There's really, it's more of like an MLS based squad, and I've seen more grit and more bite out of this team than the actual star-studded squad of U.S. men's national team. I don't know how you feel about this win. Penalty kicks 4-3. U.S. with Alex Freeman beats Costa Rica. John,
I'll let Paula go first because I want her
go ahead, Paula.
No,
opinions.
no. For me, it was a heck of a game. It was entertaining. You can see the youngsters trying to prove something to Pochettino, like Luis said. It's not like, Puselich and all that stuff. Like they know that they're in the squad for sure. But these dudes, they need to prove why they need to be in the big team, in the big league. So kudos to them, because Costa Rica wasn't playing either. It wasn't a how you might call it, an easy match for them, but they were resilient and they came through and they won. So kudos for Freeman as well. He had a good game. He had the first shot for the US team in the whole entire night. Like, he went through the goal and he tried, but he was the first shot, and he was trying to help the team when they were down. So kudos to the team.
John?
Yeah, man. I think I was I heard some pundits say that they thought he didn't have a very good game this one. I feel like that's kind of harsh. Like, he did
Yeah.
have that moment where Paulo was talking about, where he shot and it went over the bar, but that's part of his game that he's still working on, is what to do in the final third, what to do when he's way up the field. So I think that he should have some grace there. And also, then there was the other moment where he tried to pass it back to Berhalter and it didn't really come off, but then we ended up getting the penalty from Malik Tillman's foul, and he got fouled anyway. So really, those are the only two moments I thought, like, oh, that was not great from him. The rest of the time, he performed really, really well. Defensive actions, he's up there as one of the best in this back four. Arfston on the other side, yes, he scored a goal, but he pretty much caused the other two to happen as well. Like, so I think Alex is balanced, right? Like, he's, I think, getting a good, solid platform in this team where he's relied upon as a strong right back that can sometimes stay back if you want him to, but I think we're seeing Pochettino allow him to go more and more forward, especially in this game. And the last game, I've seen him get forward more. So maybe we're about to see Alex really, grow into the rest of these Gold Cup games, hopefully, as that more attacking right back that we've seen for Orlando City. I think then the rest of the country will really get to see the guy that we've seen all year. As for the rest of the team, they did okay in this game. They pulled it back and then they conceded again. Matt Freese is really the one who stands out. He stood on his head with those 3 saves in the penalty shootout, Luis. So really, if it wasn't for him, I'm not sure we'd even be going into the semis, having kind of let Costa Rica almost, I think, kind of play their game plan. And in some ways, we probably should have been more dominant. And not let them get 2 goals on us.
David Albury, tough loss. Being there makes it hurt more, but on to the next. There you go, David.
I think that was about the Orlando City game, by the way.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Jeffrey O caught into Greg Berhalter's face after his son misses the penalty. It was brutal. He made his little sister cry. Yeah.
Yeah, that was harsh, man.
Yeah. I think Fox should have never done that. It's my opinion.
Well, apparently it's the world feed. So that's the comment back at that is it wasn't Fox, it was the world feed. But then the production company that's putting it on is still contracted by, you know what I mean? So it's like, okay, yes and no.
Yeah,
like, it's the world feed, but it's
just not right.
Fox that's providing that feed, like, in some ways. So.
But you could feel
commentators too. Like, and sorry to cut you, they were not attacking, but he was like, "Oh, he's the son of former." Instead of saying former U.S. team coach team, they said, "Oh, former." Berhalter fire coach, something like that. I don't know. I'm like, dude, do you really need to say that in national TV and in this type of games? No, don't be like that. But okay.
Yeah, I think
having his little sisters there, and then them cutting to him right after he missed was a little bit, maybe too much. Like, that's a little, for me, I was a bit like, okay, like, I know that a lot of people don't like the Berhalters.
Yeah.
But I don't think we should be, showing his crying sister after he misses for his country. Like, that's not cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, you could feel however you want to feel about the Berhalters, but I mean, you have to say, Berhalter Senior went to the quarterfinals of a World Cup, represented the team, the U.S. men's national team. He was
won a Gold Cup,
and now Berhalter's son, it's in the Gold Cup, and he's actually been very influential. I feel very confident with him. I love his tenacity. I think he's really good. He has a lot of personality. Also, I feel the U.S. men's national team has, Chris Richards and Reem have on and off days, but Arston, despite the penalty, is a dumb tackle. I do want to say, and Freeman have been very consistent, and if they keep doing this way, I think they're gonna have a position to go to the World Cup 110%. Uh, this maybe wasn't. There was a Diego Luna game. I don't think it was a game for Diego Luna. I didn't see him as influential despite the goal. I didn't see him as influential on the wing. And one thing I do want to say is Malik Tillman he looked like the striker more than anything. Aggie man, I love the passion, dude. Like, bro, I love your passion, but dude, you're gonna get hurt, man. I think him running like the Tasmanian devil at his size, it is dangerous. And then the Costa Rica players are very resilient. They're trying to foul him all the time, and he was just falling like a pancake.
Well, welcome to CONCACAF, bro.
Exactly, exactly. So, I just felt bad for the guy, but I mean, then again, there's been other games that he's become very influential. We don't have another big man up top. I
I
mean,
felt bad for how much people were bagging on him, man. I felt it's really, like, yeah, he's not the best striker ever, but he's not as bad as people make out. Like, he scored a lot of goals in this company.
yeah, he's better than Hadji, in my opinion.
I feel like he has a lot of assets, and
Yeah.
like he's not the most technical player, sure, but that doesn't mean that he's bad. I think it's just a case of he's bringing something different from what we get from a lot of our other forwards, which are small, technical like nines. He's a big nine, and they aren't always the most technical and smooth with their play and their feet.
Yep. But other than that, I do want to say it's a gritty win for the U.S. men's national team, in which they're going to go to the semifinals to play against Guatemala. And Guatemala, it's the Cinderella of this tournament. Nobody thought Guatemala was going to get this far. I do want to give some shout outs and a kudos to my good friend. And you know who you are, my friend. You know, um, Mike Gramajo, my friend Mike Gramajo. He's from Guatemala, and he was ecstatic. He was in tears of this qualification of Guate to the semis, and they're going to be playing against USA. So let's see what happens in this game. Are we going to see another USA Mexico match? We'll see. But at first, I was really iffy about Pochettino, and I think a lot of people will see, hey, the U.S. barely made it. They beat Costa Rica in penalties. Costa Rica is a very tough team to beat. I mean, Costa Rica can maybe fight and play against the seventh seed downwards of CONMEBOL and probably beat them. So for a MLS based like team to get this far, I take that 100% because it's just gonna complement the A team for the U.S. men's national team when they go to the World Cup. So, what are your expectations coming up, all on this two semis?
I think we're gonna see a clásico for the final.
Really?
I don't know. I don't know. Let's see. But um they should win. They should win against Guatemala, and then we see what happens to Mexico and Honduras. But so we can see that if we have a clásico for the final. But let's see.
What about you, John?
I mean, we gotta get to the final. I feel like Guatemala, like Costa Rica, it's the same thing. Like they're just very gritty, rough team. We're gonna play on Wednesday night at 7 o'clock. So if we beat them, then it's probably going to be Mexico. You imagine? I think it's nice that Honduras beat Panama, but I don't see them beating Mexico. So and then it really comes down to that final, and I think whatever happens, even if we lose in the final to Mexico, I don't think anyone's coming away from this being like, oh, Pochettino's not the guy because he lost in the Gold Cup final. I about 2 or 3 weeks ago, people were like, "Oh, we need to get rid of him and get a new coach in before the World Cup," which I thought was crazy. But I think also there's something about U.S. men's national team fans online that are just, I don't know.
Super
They're
toxic.
they're in a
Papi
whole
out, papi out.
they're in a whole bubble of like where they think they're the world's best, but they're really not. Like
No,
it's
no,
kind of like supporting Nottingham Forest and thinking you deserve to be up in the top four every year. Like that was kind of a fluke situation. It's probably not going to happen again all the time, right?
no.
It's that sort of like you might have got a bit too big for your boots kind of thing. And I think that's a lot of what we see. And so the expectations are like, we're going to beat everybody in the world. But realistically, the expectation should be trying to be the best in,
Yeah.
North America going into the World Cup.
Yeah.
And then see what we do in the World Cup. Maybe get to a quarter or maybe even a semi. Like that would be incredible. It's doable. Look what Morocco did. But you've got to be performing incredibly well. And I think sometimes the expectations are just so high from some of these people online that they just murder everybody if they're not performing like they play for PSG, right? So I think a lot of the U.S. players we're seeing right now play for MLS teams, and that's why you're seeing extra of this, disappointment and frustration and like just overall, I think, anger a lot of the time towards this team. And I feel like it's harsh, especially like you said, Luis. They are essentially the B team, and if they go and win the Gold Cup with a team that doesn't even have any of our stars in it, that's an incredible achievement. And then you're adding all the top level talent in on top of that, and these guys have all got increased what's the word confidence and everything from winning this cup. So really it's a benefit, and I said this before, I think, from playing all these B team guys. I think we're getting more out of playing Diego Luna now, if he's then going to be available, and then a guy off the bench in the World Cup, than we would be from playing Pulisic every game. Honestly, I believe that.
Yeah, look, Costa Rica, Guatemala, Canada, Panama, Honduras, Mexico, and Saudi Arabia came with their A teams. U.S., I would even consider them a B team. I'll say a little bit more of a C team. I mean, a lot of these players had their first stint with the national team. It was really it's really Pochettino saying, okay, rather than do it like the South American teams, that I'm gonna be taking my A squad to Copa America and just like trying to win this cup. I'm actually gonna I'm gonna try out players that may help me complement my A-listers. You know what I mean? And I think with players like Arfston, Luna, Freeman, Malik Tillman, Berhalter, I mean, you can start seeing, and I mean, these players are showing this grittiness that the A squad honestly doesn't have. I mean, there's times that the A squad they're doing these like tiki taka, like playing very vertical, also like very influential in the attack. Getting paid millions of dollars playing Europe, but then they can score for crap. And then you have up top, and I do think this is one of the huge depths in the national team that I do feel it could really hinder them further on if they don't get this right. The striker, because look, Aguiman right now he's looking solid, but I mean, I think since Altidore, I think John mentioned it on the last spot. Since Altidore, I don't think the U.S. had a striker that's been a true nine, because I don't consider Jesus Ferreira. Where's Brandon Vasquez at? So we need to see those kids to prove themselves, because we have a lot of wingers. We have a lot of midfielders that are very crafty with their feet, especially on set pieces. And there's no one to head it in or to poach it right in. So hopefully. But Salty H2O says USA versus the Gulf of America. LOL. Man, it's good that these kids are being exposed to a potential USA Mexico game, because Mexico is going to play not only just for the Gold Cup, they're going to be playing for their for their land. You know what I mean? For all the situations happening. And so get ready, U.S. It's gonna be crazy. So it's gonna be a tough game against Guatemala. We'll see what happens. Now, do you see it as I don't know, if Guatemala beats the U.S., it'll be huge. I don't know. What are your thoughts, John?
Yeah, man. I mean, that's bad for sure.
Yeah,
But
that's
like you
bad.
said, it's these CONCACAF teams. It can happen. It could have happened against Costa Rica. You just got to play gritty. You got to fight, and you got to make sure you don't do stupid things like get sent off. Or I mean, that's what happened with Schaffelberg. Schaffelberg for Canada got 2 yellows in the first half because he's like lost his head, did stupid stuff, and that's why Canada are not going through against Guatemala. So we can't let that happen for sure.
All right, and we're gonna go to our OCB. I guess we have to talk about OCB. I know OCB had an L drop into Philly Union 2. I know John want to take it away.
Yeah, just a quick 5 minutes on OCB. They played earlier today a 3 o'clock Monday kickoff.
Man,
Excellent,
unbelievable.
excellent timing there from MLS Next Pro. You'd love to see a 3 o'clock Monday kickoff. Shout out to, I heard there was, I could hear fans in the crowd. I don't know if they were mainly Philly fans. I saw at one point one of our players was like waving to the crowds. I don't know who he was waving to, but maybe there were some Orlando City people there. I don't know. But we lost. We did. It was a loss on penalties. It was a tie, 1-1. A nice goal from Platts off of a Caraballo set piece in the first half set us up, and then it was just all Philly. I mean, they were all over OCB. They had a total of 34 shots, 14 of which were on target. And this is where the real star of the show for OCB comes in. Carlos Mercado made 12 saves. He was just getting peppered all the second half,
Holy.
absolutely hammered by the Philly 2 Academy team that was coming wave after wave at him, and he just kept making saves. Kept us in it to go into a penalty shootout, of which we sadly lost. Carlos did make a save on the first one, but so did their keeper. Justin Ellis actually stepped up and missed, which was surprising to see. Well, he had his penalty saved technically. And then as the shootout went on, we just kind of didn't make our shots, and they made theirs, and their keeper made some good saves too. And we only come away with 1 point and a tie from a difficult road game, really. I mean, Philly 2, a very good youth academy, probably potentially are
Yeah,
known
one
as
of the
the
best.
best youth academy in the country. We've talked about the fact that they produced Kevin Sullivan, who's just been signed off to Man City for an insane amount of money. They're up in second. So really 1 point away, a draw, isn't that bad. Considering the fact that they'd lost the 2 before this, and this was a tough road game. So some fight back, but really the star of the show, apart from the Justin Platts goal, was Mercado, who just had an incredible game and made 12 saves, and made several other good goalkeeping actions as well. So shout out to Carlos.
Yeah, for sure. Carlos Mercado, phenomenal keeper. I think, Paolo, we have good goalkeepers in Orlando City.
I was gonna say sub him for Galese. I'm just kidding. That's the
Oh, come
toxic,
on,
the
man.
toxic people.
Look
I'm
at
just
this
kidding.
guy.
I'm just kidding. No, no, no. Good future for the Orlando City goalkeepers team. So there you go.
There you go. All right. So we're wishing the best to OCB. Thank you to all the OCB guys. Always check out our content. We know who you are. I know that Colin Gusky watches, and also Platts and all those guys. So we appreciate you guys for staying in tune of LPO. We appreciate you. But yeah, another day. We'll move on. We'll take the L and then shake it off and go to the next one. Now, we're coming into this game coming up here. It's another massive game. Charlotte FC and Orlando City are Eastern Conference rivals right now. Have competitive history. They haven't faced each other multiple times, playoffs, the 2024 regular season. Um, so, Orlando holds a little bit of a slight edge in regular season series with three wins, one draw, and two defeats. And then Charlotte has shown a newfound resilience, especially against the Lions, especially at home. So at their home, obviously, we're going to be facing Charlotte in North Carolina, in Charlotte, North Carolina, and it's Orlando's in strong form, but attacking inconsistencies. Charlotte is also coming a little green, but they are a very good team. They've had 6 wins, a draw, 5 losses. Rough patch the last 3 consecutive losses. And so it is a very even match, and these are the type of teams that Orlando needs to defeat to overcome the hurdle of, are we only going to be beating lower teams? We need to beat these teams that have competitive players, that have a good coach, that are able to definitely make a case to win it all, right? So, what are your expectations coming up, Paula, for this game?
A W, a 3 points, obviously. No, a bloody, very physical game. We have history with Charlotte, even though that we won the last time that they were here at home 3-1. But this is a type of team that it doesn't make us easy to score and easy to win the 3 points, right? I know that I have said it before, but Westwood is one of the ones that we need to watch out. Galina is a great goalkeeper. It doesn't mean that he hasn't had a phenomenal games in the last 3 games with Charlotte, but I think they grow themselves, right, when they face Orlando City because of the bad blood from last year. So it's gonna be a physical game on Saturday, and hopefully we get those 3 points away.
John, what are your thoughts? What do you expect coming up, Charlotte FC?
Charlotte are a desperate team, man. They really are. I mean, they went out and thought, yo, we're gonna be something this year, and
Yeah.
they're struggling worse than last year by far. Last year they were right behind us in the end of the year. They were in third, or I can't remember. No, we were in third. They were in fourth. This year, we're up in fifth. They're down in 10th. And they've lost the last 3 in a row. More than that, they have real problems with their attack and defense. Their attack is just, it doesn't really click as well as it should. I think they're not using Zaha is not as impactful as they thought he would be. Pep Biel is their best player, which is surprising. He played well against us last year. I think he's one we got to watch out for. And then their defense is a shadow of what it was last year, and they're out Ream as well. But defensively, they're one of the worst teams in the East, even in one of the worst teams in MLS. So we got to get the win. They're going to be frustrated. They really don't like us. I know some of their fans and content creators I've seen online loathe us and really don't like Orlando City. So I'm sure they're going to want to get the win, especially after we beat them already this season 3-1. They are going to be hungry to beat us, both for the points and the fact that they really don't like us.
Talking about some of the fans, that's one of their strong suits. This team is backed by their really massive crowds, especially playing at their Bank of America Stadium. And gives them a little bit of an edge. Now I don't know how big the crowd's going to be being the Club World Cup, but I mean, again, um, the U.S. men's national team has shown that when fans truly want to see their team, they're going to go see it no matter what. And so Orlando, they need to do 3 things, in my opinion. These whole hot and cold, especially in the attacking third, needs to stop. Martino Heda's form need to be on point, influential. Marco Pasalic needs to continue to be that, the guy, especially on the right wing. And again, we need to see some changes on the left flank. Because Brecalo is a player that, yeah, he's a very good player. He's having a good season, but you don't want to push him too hard. And with Angulo right on the left flank, yeah, he's gonna run the wing, but then he's not gonna generate any danger. So we need to see some changes there, in my opinion, or we need to see a newfound attitude from Ivan Angulo, because we're gonna need leverage of our attacking stars, and also failing on capitalizing on scoring opportunities, which again, 4 scoreless draws. That was some of the results that Orlando got in the beginning in this season. We need to be clinical. I understand we have Kalina up front, one of the top keepers in the MLS, but again, those two, especially in the attacking third, are going to be very influential. Um, Other than that, I mean, I feel Orlando's been very solid defensively. Um, so I think when it comes to the defense part, I think we got it on point, because just like John said, I think we're facing one of the worst defenses in the East, at least. Now, John, why do you think that Charlotte fans hates us? I know
Well,
their mascot's it's a ball.
a lot of it is to do with the playoffs last year. Really, that 3-game series and the whole. Well, I think it was the second game where we had that goal that they think wasn't a goal, and whenever I interact with Charlotte fans, it's always,
No,
you guys shouldn't have beat us in the playoffs, and to which I reply, like,
but
you scored 1 goal in 3 games, like, get out of here. So yeah.
Charlotte is known for two things: the Hornets and Ric Flair.
Yeah, I don't
I
know,
mean,
man. There's something about them. They don't like us. And I think especially they think they're amazing. They think, we're the kings of the South or whatever, but they've done
Kings of
nothing. Just
what?
just because they have a lot of fans, like you said, and they use this whole Queens thing, and
Queens.
they do this thing where
Queens,
they crown
Queens in New York.
somebody. They have like a seat and they put a crown on
So
them.
they want to be like the Chelsea of the.
It kind of gives that vibe a little bit, yeah, a little bit. But I don't know, man. There's just something about similar like Nashville. We're starting to get like more and more of these fan bases just really don't like us, and
I
I
don't
think it's
know,
just a
man. Look,
Southeast thing, man. I think like all the Southeastern teams are gonna beef. Like it's gonna happen.
your starting player is Pepe Le Pew. Come on, like, come on, man. You can't. Question: Pep BL. Does it sound familiar to you?
Yeah,
No,
I
like
mean,
like before being in Charlotte. Do you know him?
did
Have
I?
you?
No,
Ex-
no idea who he was.
Exactly. Now, I've heard of Muriel. I've heard of Ojeda. I know. Like, I'm trying to say is like, at least our players, I think this year, because I remember some of the interviews you went to, John, for the preview of this season, and they were so cocky, man. They were like, "Oh, we're gonna be top 3, Orlando top 10," like right there on the bottom, like a sad clown with his, with his balloons,
Yeah,
holding his balloons.
I mean, I thought they were gonna be way better this year, man. Like I'm
We
on
got,
record predicting them to be like a top 4 team this year, and they
bro,
defensively last year they were really good, and they are nowhere near that
and
this
then
year.
and then Pasalic, they were downplaying the signings we were doing. They downplayed Atuesta. They're saying he's washed up. Pasalic, who is this guy? Never heard of him before. Like, so. Look, it's gonna be a great game, but these are the games, John and Paola, that I feel Orlando needs to win to set each other apart. Like, Orlando. Look at this. Oh man, this is great.
Adjamag is out, of course. We know international duty. Tim Ream out international duty. Nathan Byrne is suffering from neck, so
Neck.
maybe Atuesta can help him with neck.
I was gonna say that.
You gotta that
Yeah,
neck.
Nathan Byrne, like these guys are not really significant, but Adjamag and Ream out is significant.
How do you say the second name, John? Right there.
Nimfasha Berchimash.
There you go.
Nimfasha.
I think I nailed that.
There you go.
You
You
nailed it.
definitely did. You
I
did.
don't even know what country Nimfasha
I
comes
have
from.
no idea.
No idea.
No, but I mean, yeah, I mean, Burn, Aggie Man, and Team Ream, three usually starters of this team. Orlando needs to strike fast, man. Strike quick, kind of like a Cobra Kai. Strike hard, no mercy. Right, Paola?
Absolutely. By the way, Nimfasha country is United States. There you
Oh,
go.
look at that.
On the okay, this is I'm look at this. Okay, on their website, this is wild. On their website
It says unknown.
for Nimfasha,
Oh,
on their birthplace, it says unknown
Unknown.
Unknown.
USA.
Great.
You don't know where you were born, Nimfasha?
We gotta. Hey,
Not
don't
even a
show.
state? Like
Those,
nothing?
hey,
We gotta start a petition to find out where Nimfasha's from. I
do
gotta
they use?
know.
Do they use
So wild.
Ever? Ever? Yo, this
Ay,
is
ay, ay.
insane, guys. Wow,
I'll have to send
insane.
a message to a Charlotte pod and say, "Can you tell me where Nimfasha's from, please?"
Wow. He reminds me of if people from Facebook are watching that are on the Facebook groups. There used to be this kid from Africa that used to message.
Oh, yes,
What was
yes.
his name?
Oh my
Remember?
god, I forgot.
I forgot his name too.
It was
But
weekly or daily.
yeah, he used to say, "Hey, I'm from. Hey man, can you get me to try out for Orlando City? You know, I'm
Yes.
an African footballer. I'm struggling.
Oh yeah,
Help me
the
out." I
club's
forgot.
Facebook gets about 4 of those a day, I think.
Yeah, we used to get those when we first started LPO. We're like getting like and typically, I mean, not to say, I mean, some of them were scams because they were putting links on the groups that had links that will get your information, like, oh, I'm selling this Orlando City slippers, click here to know more, and you click on there, and then it's
You're
like a
screwed.
bogus, yeah. So either way, it's gonna be a tough game. I think Orlando needs to again keep defending the way they've been doing, even though obviously Cincinnati, it's kind of found out how we were going to play, and they did their homework and they were way more effective. But I think Orlando in the Cincinnati game had a lot of opportunities to even be ahead in the scorecard, and they didn't punish Cincinnati, I believe, enough. They need to capitalize on Charlotte. They need to put this game away because it's a tough schedule coming up, right, John? I don't know if you want to pull up the upcoming games for Orlando, and then we'll do our predictions.
Yes, indeed. 1 second.
In
So we got, of course, Charlotte on Saturday. Following Saturday, we have Montreal at home.
Yeah.
And then Wednesday, right after that, we have New York City FC at home. And then immediately following that Wednesday, the same week, we have a Saturday away at New England. And then back again the following week on a Friday away at Columbus before we then get into Leagues Cup. So really kind of take this as like these next 5 games before Leagues Cup. I think it's winnable games in there. Columbus are the only really tough opponent in the East, in my opinion.
Well, Paula, do you feel? I feel at least NYCFC on Columbus. I mean NYCFC because
Freeze and Martinez, yeah, I guess.
right
But
of
this
the
NYCFC
derby,
are not as good as Columbus, but they're
right,
still a good playoff team.
right. So NYCFC maybe because of the derby, and we can at least we consider it a derby. I don't know if a lot of fans do anymore.
Yeah, at least it's at home.
Yeah,
Exactly.
and then Columbus, obviously top team in the East. What are your thoughts on the upcoming schedule for Orlando City?
I mean, let me see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Out of the 5, we could get easily 4 wins. Not easily. Let me not jinx it. Let me knock on wood. Knock on wood. Let me knock on wood. 4 wins or 5 wins, let me say. Plus Columbus is gonna be a rough one. In a Friday? That's so weird. But anyways,
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't even notice it was on a Friday. That's a weird schedule. But either way, um it's not like May schedule. May was the worst. This is more feasible, winnable games, like
Right.
New England, NYC, Montreal, come on. But Columbus is the most, I think, hard game for July. The hardest, let's say.
This is a little streak that Orlando can get themselves into
Yeah.
in the next in this upcoming in July for sure. So honestly, I would hate for Orlando to get else, and then going to that. I'm sorry, I'm gonna say this word or this stupid Leagues Cup, and then and then do bad in the Leagues Cup, and then doing bad in the MLS and doing bad in Leagues Cup is just going to bring down the morale not only of the fans but of the players, and we're going to be leaving a whole new scenario for we started the league really well, and then we fell off. What's going on here? It was supposed to be the other way around. You start bad and then you recover, right? So we want to make sure that we maintain the consistency. I think Orlando's been privileged, and the reason why I had John bring this up because compared to other teams that are fighting on the standings with us, I feel like we have the most feasible schedule, including Charlotte and Columbus right there. I think with Montreal, NYCFC, and New England, these are teams that we can win and by a margin of 2 goals or more. So
For sure. As we get closer to the playoffs, I got some special things I'm going to show everybody. I found some good websites to show
oh,
the playoff picture, and as we get close to us, show the
okay.
chances of percentages. So we'll get into that later.
There you go. So we're gonna do our predictions. If we want to do our predictions right here.
Yes, indeed.
Well, we've been on a big slump, man.
Yeah. Last pod we had Jose on, who was a guest.
Yeah, he hit it spot on.
He predicted a 2-1 win for Orlando.
We should give it to Jose.
I thought he predicted a 2-1 win for his team, but no, he picked a 2-1 win for against his team. If he'd have picked it for his team, he would have been right. I went 3-1 for us. You went 3-2.
Yeah.
Either were right. Charlotte. Paula, you want to go first?
Yeah, ladies first.
Ooh. 2-1. Orlando.
2-1.
Luis?
All right, I'm go for it. I think Orlando's gonna go all off in this game, and I think Orlando's gonna win 4-1.
Woo! Wow, some Charlotte fans will be upset about that. I'm gonna go for. I think we get a Pappy special on the road.
Pappy special on the road.
I want to take a Pappy special to go.
It's okay.
Colorado.
Yeah, I want a Nashville. Sorry, a North Carolina Charlotte style Pappy special to go, please.
A Pappy special.
Does it come with I don't know,
vegan
like
hot
barbecue
dog
sauce or something? I don't know.
There you go. So I go for 4-1. Like if we win 4-1, man, like
it can happen. I mean, Charlotte are leaky, bro. Like if we start scoring, it can happen.
Exactly. Yeah, we need it.
I'm not super confident in our ability after watching last game for us to put the ball in the back of the net right now. Like that could be different, right? Like we said, it's depends which Orlando City turns up.
And it's turf.
Yeah.
FYI.
Yeah, it's the field turf hybrid nonsense.
Yeah. The least thing we need coming up, and again, I don't want to be a Debbie Downer. The least thing we need is for Inter Miami coming in back into the league like, oh, I lost the Club World Cup. I'm so sad. Oh my God. Oh, look, I'm Inter Miami. I'm Inter Miami. Look at me. And then Orlando losing games. They winning games because Infantino is probably crying. Do you see his face when PSG scored 4 on them?
Yeah.
Infantino was he was brokenhearted. Like he lost his girlfriend or something. Something's going on there. So, Inter's gonna come up. The least thing we need is give these dead teams momentum, even though they're close on the standings from us. I feel like they're dead teams right now because Come on, man. I mean, Messi right now is talking. This is true, by the way. There are rumors down south. My friend Paniso was talking about that Messi wants to bail. Yeah, it's not competitive enough for me. I want to take my talents to Europe. You know, you're, come on. Like, this is a joke. We cannot give these teams, that team's momentum. We need to we want to be that team that all the fans are yearning for. These are we're going into this little, before Leagues Cup, we're going to these series of games in which Orlando needs to pick up 1-0 wins, 2-0 wins, 4-1 wins. Just get the W's, and try to get a couple of draws, maybe, let's see, or maybe all wins, but we need to get those receipts because we're gonna build up that cushion, and then when the Inter comes out with his tail, kind of like my dog with his tail behind his
Tail.
behind, right? We're gonna have that cushion of, like, we're gonna be far apart in numbers, and I think that's what we need to start situating ourselves, that there is a little bit of a gap, or 4 points, 3 points, or even 5 points, and then kind of staying on that top five, top four, top five. I don't know. That's just my opinion. I don't know if you guys feel the same way.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
gotta
same, same.
gotta figure it out, man. I mean, Charlotte, Montreal, NYCFC at home. These three very winnable games in a row. So let's do a little mini run would be nice.
There you go. Yeah, a little run will be nice. Well, we stick around for us because we have the Pride Pod. Anything else you want to add before we go?
No, just thank you to everybody who listens here. You can follow us on social media and all the usual places. If you're watching on YouTube, go ahead and like the video for us. Subscribe. If you're not, I know there's a lot of people that watch but are not subscribed. So please go ahead and do that. It doesn't cost you anything, and it really helps us out. Same thing on Spotify. If you really like what you hear, please drop us preferably a 5-star review. It can be not a 5-star, but we'd love it to be a 5-star review. The more of those we get, the higher up we get in the algorithm, the more likely it is that people find us. All of that stuff. So we appreciate you guys interacting and helping out and listening every week. So thank you.
Yeah, we're coming into half the season for LPO as well for this season, and we're probably gonna be doing a little survey because we want to make sure that we're treating you right, and we're offering you the best content. We don't know if you truly enjoy just audio only on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. I don't know if you still want the video there. So all those little questions, we'll probably we'll do a half year, like, I don't know, like a survey. I think it would be cool just to find out how to move forward. But we appreciate you because, I mean, the growth that we've gotten this year is tremendous, and it can only be possible with you, obviously with Paul and John as well. X, we're available at LP_podcast, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube as well, Spotify and Apple Podcasts as well. So thank you for your support. We're going to read some more comments real quick. Onel Barrett, don't forget that we play way more games than our rivals in pink. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, you're completely right. Yeah, but they're gonna be coming on a look at me, Messi's back, man. Like, let's all praise Messi, and they're gonna go into, oh yeah. Like right now, pundits down south are saying that they represented the MLS, and the MLS is in trouble because Inter failed. I'm like, no, man. The MLS, I think, it's growing tremendously. I truly feel, and I tell my South American friends, Inter does not represent the growth of the MLS. Like, if you want to really see the growth of the MLS, look at Cincinnati, Cincinnati 2. Look at Orlando City, Orlando City B, what they're doing, like their academies, like Philly Academy. Like, look at those teams. Vancouver. Like, that's, I'll say, growing the sport in in North America. Like, I really don't see what impact have they made. But again, that's another story. But I wanted to thank you guys for your support. We're going to be back for the Pride Fund in just a few minutes. And we'll see you guys next week. And vamos Orlando. Have a good one,
Vamos,
guys.
Orlando.
Thank you
Vamos,
so much.
Orlando.